The world of smart home tech can be overwhelming. There's so many different types of devices out there, sometimes it's difficult to distinguish the useful ones from the gimmicks. In this video, I'm gonna give you my list of top 5 smart home techs. Hi everyone, welcome to another Tech Talk with Samir, where I talk about anything and everything related to technology in my life. Before I get started, I ask you to please subscribe to the channel as we're only a few hundred subscribers from 1,000 for the channel. Also, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button as it really helps with the YouTube algorithm so that these videos can be discovered by others. Over the last decade, we've seen an explosion of smart home techs hit the market. Some of these devices can save us some money, some of them can save us time, some of them can help us automate some things, and some of them are just flat out gimmicks. Over the last couple of years, I've incorporated some of these techs into my life, and here's a list of my top 5 smart home techs. Just note that these are not in any particular order and they all add value in their own way. Number 1. Smart thermostats. If you live in a home where you have to pay for utilities, I would say that this should probably be one of your first smart home devices. I personally use Nest thermostats, but there's plenty of great thermostats out there from brands like Ecobee and Honeywell. Although the initial investment can be a bit overwhelming depending on which device you go with, if you use it correctly, you can very easily make up the cost in savings with your energy bills. One way it can help you save energy is by automatically lowering or increasing your home's temperature whenever it detects that you're not home. I've set up my Nest thermostat in a way where it's linked to everyone's phone, so when no one's phone is at home, it assumes that no one's home. It's quite neat. Another benefit of a smart thermostat is that some of them has additional sensors that you can place in different areas of your home. It can then regulate the temperature based on that sensor rather than the thermostat itself. You can also set it to use certain sensors at certain time of the day. This makes sure that the temperature you set is actually being maintained at a location that matters rather than one specific spot in your home. For example, in our bedroom, if we keep the door closed, the temperature difference between the room and outside the room can be several degrees. So we put an additional sensor in our bedroom so that at night it makes sure to regulate the temperature inside the room. Smart home tech number 2. Robotic vacuums. I don't know about you, but I hate vacuuming. Growing up, it was one of my least favorite chores around the house, and because I didn't like doing it, I typically didn't do a good job with it. That problem was completely solved when we got a robotic vacuum for the house. Now, I know people often associate robotic vacuums with only iRobot's Roomba series of vacuums, and just like many people, in the past I've looked at the price of Roomba devices and told myself, nah, I'm good, I'll just continue to do a bad job with manually vacuuming. But turns out, nowadays there's a lot of third-party companies that make great robotic vacuums at a much more affordable price point. I personally got one made by a company called Ecovac's Dbot. Despite being relatively affordable, it packs features comparable to Roomba devices that cost hundreds more. The one I got is now a few years old and prices have gone down even more as newer and cheaper alternatives have come out. Although most of them are generally good, I would look for one with laser mapping capabilities so that it can map out your house using LiDAR. You can then use the mobile app to define specific areas for it to clean. You can even set do not enter areas on the map. You can even find ones that do mopping if you have hardwood or tiled floors. It's really a game changer. Smart home tech number 3. Smart plugs and switches. These are some of the first smart home devices that people often get. Since they're relatively inexpensive, it's often a gateway to get into smart home technology. Depending on how you use them, they can be quite useful throughout the house. Smart plugs are great for external devices that you plug into the wall, but for me, I find that smart switches can be much more useful since it can be used to control existing light fixtures. Of course, you can also go the route of changing all the bulbs to smart bulbs, but that can be very costly if you have a lot of bulbs. It's usually best to just swap out the switch instead. By using different combination of these devices, you can do a lot of creative things around the house. For example, one thing that I've been guilty of in the past was to leave exterior lighting turned on by accident throughout the day. I've since changed the switch to a smart switch, and I've set up a schedule to send an off signal to the switch every couple of hours throughout the day, regardless of whether it's on or not. This makes it so that in a worst case scenario, the lights can only stay on for a couple of hours by accident, which probably saves me a few bucks a year on electricity bills. You can even do things like set timers for your interior lights if you're ever out on a vacation. That's an affordable way to add some home security measures for when you're away, as it will give people an impression that someone's home. The possibilities with smart plugs and smart switches are endless, so it really comes down to your needs and creativity to determine how they can fit in your life. Smart home tech number 4, security cameras. Now this is a broad topic because there's a wide range of security cameras out there. But in this video, I want to talk about a couple of specific types of cameras. I started started off my home security camera setup with a doorbell camera. I think it's a good place to start because it's a little more practical than cameras used for just surveillance purposes. Doorbell cameras can be useful for interacting with anyone at your front door, whether you're home or not. It can also be a good way to deter intruders. Often if an intruder sees a doorbell camera, they become aware that they've already been seen, so they tend to just move on. I personally have a Ring video doorbell, but there's plenty of other doorbell cams that are also quite good. I've heard a lot of great things about the Eufy doorbell camera as well as the Google Nest doorbell camera. They all have their pros and cons, but ultimately they're all trying to achieve the same thing. Another type of security camera to look into if you're looking to get started are Wi-Fi based indoor-outdoor cameras. They can vary a lot in pricing depending on which brand and product you choose to go with, but I personally recommend looking into the WiseCam V3. I recently added one of these in my garage and I'm really impressed by the quality and features for something that costs only $30. Now, it's not 100% wireless because it does need access to a power outlet, but that's often a lot easier to find than having to do dedicated wiring just for cameras. This new V3 version of the WiseCam added weather resistance, so it's perfectly suitable as an outdoor camera if you can route the cable to a power outlet. You can also add a microSD card to it to do continuous recording, which is a very useful feature at such an affordable price point. Normally the cheaper cameras only does motion triggered recording, which can only hold like maybe a 30 seconds to a minute long clips, but this one can do continuous. Finally, smart home tech number 5. Smart Assistants. This is one that helps you tie in all your smart home devices and gives you an interface to interact with. The usefulness of smart home assistants will vary depending on what else you have in your home, but it's another relatively inexpensive way to add some cool functionality in your home. There are several smart assistant ecosystems out there like Amazon's Alexa, Google's Nest Hub, and Apple's Siri, and they all offer similar functionality. Although Apple's Siri ecosystem is a bit underwhelming at the moment, so I would recommend going with either Amazon or Google at this point. Like I said, how useful your smart assistant is will depend entirely on what other smart home devices you have. I personally use my Amazon Alexa devices to turn on or off certain devices in the home. I use it sometimes to check who's at the front door through my Ring doorbell, and sometimes I just ask it dumb questions for my own entertainment. There's a wide variety of devices in every ecosystem and they all have similar features. Some are only speakers, some have screens, and some are just built into other devices. So when it comes to these devices, there's one for everyone's need and budget. One thing to keep in mind when deciding on a smart assistant is to make sure that all your devices are compatible with the ecosystem that you go with. Generally, most of them are compatible with Amazon and Google devices, but there are some that only support one or the other, so it's a good idea to check before deciding on what to buy. And there you have it. That's my list of top 5 smart home devices. I'm gonna put some Amazon affiliate links in the description for items related to this video. If you use any of the links to buy any of these items, it really helps out the channel, and it doesn't cost you anything extra. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, because that's another way you can help my small channel grow. With that, please stay safe and I'll see you again on the next one.